AEW WrestleDream has concluded from St. Louis, Missouri, and in this video I'm going to be going over all things WrestleDream. I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on everything that happened. We're going to go match by match through the card, and we're going to see how every match played. We're going to go through the results. We're going to look at the implications of each match, and I'm going to give my takes on everything that happened at WrestleDream, all the story threads that were set up, all the angles that happened on the show, and of course, how the matches went, my thoughts on the matches. You're going to get all that here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let's hop into this. All right, so I want to preface this video by saying that AEW's television recently, their Dynamites, their Collisions, to me at least, have been a little bit subpar. There has been a noticeable lack of must-watchability and appointment viewing stuff that really keeps you coming back week to week. When it's Saturday and it's Friday and it's Thursday and Tuesday, whatever the case is, when it's not Wednesday, I'm not thinking about Dynamite. And the same can be applied for Collision. When it's not Saturday, I'm not thinking about Collision. And that's an issue for me because every great week-to-week television wrestling show, you think about it day after day. You think, oh man, what's going to happen when that story concludes? What's the next beat in this angle? And it's always on your mind. The threads remain bouncing around in your head. And I just don't get that from AEW, or at least I don't get it consistently enough. And so while their shows are good, their shows are generally average, their shows are generally entertaining, you can get something from them when you watch them, they generally do miss some must-watchability and some just can't-miss factor. There is nothing that is actively pulling me in, compelling me to watch week to week. And that's an issue. And so I wanted to bring that up because that is a point that I intend to revisit as I go further through this card. There are several things on this show that kind of can be applied to that point and can relate to that point that AEW has been kind of lacking in that area. And, I'm kind of interested to see what people think about that, how you guys have been perceiving their Dynamites and their Collisions recently. That would be interesting for me to see. So we'll start here at the Tailgate Brawl, and I want to say this first. Willow Nightingale was in a women's tag team match in the Tailgate Brawl, the pre-show, the hour-long pre-show on TNT. And I must say, we have to get Willow Nightingale back in some meaningful singles spots on pay-per-view. Because she's just been floundering away in the pre-show. She's been on the Tailgate Brawls recently, and that's no place for a woman like Willow Nightingale to be sitting. She's far too talented to be on the Tailgate Brawl before WrestleDream or before All Out. All right, she needs to be on the main card. So if I'm Tony Khan, I'm making that an active prioritization. Get Willow Nightingale on the main cards, preferably in a singles spot. Late in the Tailgate Brawl, FTR and Jet Speed had a really nice match. It started at about 7:55 Eastern time. And so to me, I'm thinking, why are we starting with only 5 minutes? What are we doing here? It's FTR. Why are they not giving them 15, 18, 17, 12 minutes? And my question was answered. Their match ended up bleeding into the main show. So as soon as we went to WrestleDream, the show kicked off, fireworks going off in the background, pyro bursting off, and Jet Speed and FTR are throwing punches in the ring. This is a really clever way to start off a pay-per-view, and it acted as the opener to the show. It was really clever. It was a really nice way to inject some immediate energy, because those four, they were already several gears into their match. They were already at such a point in their match where the crowd was invested, the crowd was right there with it, and then you hit the pyro, the crowd's going ballistic. And so that's just an incredible way to start off a show. It's an incredible way to just inject immediate energy into whatever you're doing. So I thought that was really clever. I've never seen any show do it quite like that. And it kind of lends credibility to the idea that also any match can overrun. There's no fixed time limit on a match. A match can bleed into the next hour, or it can bleed into even the main show on a pay-per-view, because obviously when it's Collision and it's like 10:02, the show's not going to go past 10:08. And so this kind of lends credibility to the idea that maybe sometimes it can overrun a little bit. And so I thought this was really clever. I loved that. So FTR get the win via Stokely interference. He interfered. He held, I want to say it was Speedball's feet, and FTR got the pin on Jet Speed. Moving along to technically the main show, we go to Tekla versus Jamie Hayter. This match was interesting to me. I was very interested, especially to see the online reaction to this match, because to me, this match never really got off the ground. I thought it had some good physicality, and I thought what they were doing, the general work that they were doing, was very strong, and they put in a good shift tonight. But the crowd just struggled to pick up what they were putting down. It didn't feel like St. Louis ever quite got the memo. They never really quite got in line with where Jamie Hayter and Tekla were, and the match took a hit for it. I never really thought it got out of the second gear. It never really got into the third gear, in my opinion. And I saw people giving this like 3.5 stars. I think I saw a 4-star rating on Twitter. And to me, that's just a little bit crazy. I think I gave it like 2.5. I think is about where I would stand on that. So again, nice and physical. They worked hard. They put in a good shift. It just wasn't their night. And I think part of that was because of the unconventional opening. I don't think injecting that much energy into the show necessarily helped the match that followed it. And while I was watching it, I felt particularly bad for Tekla and Jamie Hayter, because I knew that they were thinking to themselves, man, you know, if we could have soaked up that crowd's energy as soon as the pyro went off, this match maybe could have clicked a little bit better. So it just wasn't the night for them, in my opinion, but obviously some opinions will differ, as a lot of opinions did from mine on Twitter. Moving on, next match, the second official match here on the main card. We have the Young Bucks versus the Jurassic Express. This was awesome. This was terrific. I want to see what I went for this. Yeah, I went 4.25 on the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. I thought they rocked the place. Thought it had great escalation, killer high spots. I thought these four nailed some really exciting high drama spots in the match that the crowd could really sink their teeth into. I thought they just killed it. Really exciting. If this match was a flop, which there was no way it was going to be, it's a Young Bucks match. If this match was going to be a flop, the show was going to be set up on a very bad trend. It was going to be set up on a very bad course. And so luckily they delivered here, and we got a really nice match. Again, I went 4.25 on that. St. Louis loved this. Jurassic Express, they are crazy over, especially Luchasaurus. He is so popular with the fans, and I think Jurassic Express are going to be a particularly worthwhile addition to that tag team division. The Young Bucks and their body of work in 2025 has just been so good, so off the charts amazing, and this is just another notch in their belt. This is just another kind of resume match for them for 2025. I think they've killed it this year, and this is another example of that. Post-match, Kenny Omega ran in. We got a little elite kind of face-off moment, melodramatic moment on the stage. He ran in, he took down Mark Davis and other members of the Don Callis family, and it looks like we are headed towards a 6-man tag. I think it was Lance Archer, Mark Davis, and oh gosh, I can't remember the other Don Callis family. There's a million of them running around. So it was 3 members of the Don Callis family and Kenny Omega and Jurassic Express. It looks like we're headed to some sort of tag team match, 6-man tag team match, trios match, maybe on a TV going forward here. Any Kenny Omega TV minutes I'm down for. I will not oppose those at all. I'm a huge Kenny mark. If you know anything about like my wrestling fandom, you know I'm a huge Kenny Omega fan. He's in my banner on Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter, by the way, at it's LSDub. Anyway, no, I'm a huge Kenny mark, so any Kenny minutes on TV are welcome by me, absolutely. All right, up next, we have the Hurt Syndicate versus the Demand, Ricochet, and the Gates of Agony. This match had good action. I thought Shelton Benjamin in particular looked really sharp in there, and I thought Ricochet, they all look good, really. They all look good. They all put in a good shift. There was some good spots. The crowd was able to grab onto this a lot. And it was a match that the crowd took really easily to. They kind of got invested in this really easily. It didn't take long for them to really start picking up what these 6 were putting down. There was one spot where Shelton Benjamin, I think it was like he reversed one of Ricochet's moves, got him into a German suplex and Germaned him over the ropes onto everyone who was on the outside. That spot was amazing, and St. Louis popped pretty hard for that. So these 6 killed it. Really nice action. But here's what I will say about Ricochet. Ever since his spurt up the card, in about March and February. I want to say it was earlier this year. I think his stock has really plummeted. It's really declined. And, the demand as a group, I think, are a good group. I don't have an issue with them as a faction. I think they're pretty effective generally. And this feud with the Hurt Syndicate wasn't bad. I think it was probably handled a little bit weirdly, but I don't think the demand comes out of it buried like some people are saying. I do think that Ricochet and his prioritization as a single star has kind of fallen under the radar. And if it were me, I would like to see that be prioritized again. I would like to see his status as a singles wrestler be prioritized. I'd like to see him be moved up the totem pole like he was earlier this year, because it feels like his stock and just generally who he's associating himself with on TV has just really declined. It's taken a sharp turn in the wrong direction. And you remember earlier this year when he was tagging with people like the Don Callis family, I think it was people like the Young Bucks. He was in matches with some of the top baby faces and top heels on Dynamite in the whole company, really. And that rubbed off on him really, really well. And I want to get him back to that spot. I mean, you remember when he was feuding with Swerve and that whole thing. And it just seems like we've come a long way from where Ricochet was. And it feels like we should be able to get him back there. It feels like his stock has just taken a wrong turn along the way. So hopefully the demand can kind of right their ship. I don't think they're buried. They did pin the Hurt Syndicate. The Hurt Syndicate got their win back here. And so I don't have an issue with that. I don't think the demand are buried at all. As long as you keep them going and you book them fine going forward, I think everything will work itself out. But with Ricochet, I would definitely like to see him get prioritized as a single star. I'd like his singles status, his status as a single star, to kind of work its way up the prioritization list, the laundry list, if you will. But yeah, Hurt Syndicate get their heat back. Not all that shocking to me. I went 3 1/4 on this match. I thought it was really good, although some people went a lot higher on this match. And not surprising. This was really good action. All right, up next we have Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe for the TNT Championship. These two killed it. There's so much to say, and at the same time, there's not a lot to say because this is the 5th match they've had, and every match they've had has been really terrific. I will say this, before the match started, they were doing it wasn't the match introductions, but they were standing opposite sides of the ring, and Kyle Fletcher, he was going to rip off his pants, his entrance pants, and he was going to have trunks on, all that. He couldn't get his entrance pants off, and the crowd just started laughing at him. I just thought that was a really funny anecdote to drop in. I kind of giggled at that a little bit. I laughed at that. I thought that was really, really funny. Mark Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher, they understand each other as performers on such a profound level that not many wrestlers can ever get to. They have endlessly accessible chemistry that is just never going to run out. It's always going to be there. This is a match that you can kind of turn to at any point you want if you're Tony Khan and just say, go out there and give me a 4-star at the very least. And they will do it. They're that good. They understand each other that well. And the reason why their dynamic is so good is because they are perfect foils to each other as characters. They're the exact opposite of each other. That's why their dynamic works so good. And they know the exact type of buttons to push to get the most out of each other in each other's matches. I mean, mechanically, they're always on the same page. They never really hit many hiccups. They're always operating on the same wavelength as wrestlers. They're never off. They're always kind of in the same ballpark. They're in the same region. And that's a really important thing. You never want to have miscommunications in the ring, and they hardly ever have miscommunications. So they are terrific, and they are perfect foils to each other. Their dynamic works seamlessly. I love them as an in-ring pairing, and I'd love to see them explore this even further, do another match. Obviously, Kyle Fletcher hit a low blow on Mark Briscoe, which could seemingly set up another match if Tony Khan sees the need to. I would love to see another match. We'll see what they do, though. Maybe down the line next year or in 2027, we could see a world title match between these two in the main event of like Revolution or whatever the pay-per-view is. I'd love to see this match happen on an even bigger scale. Now, I want to take a second and just talk about Kyle Fletcher. I say this every time about Kyle Fletcher, but I say it because I mean it truly from the bottom of my heart. This guy is absolutely incredible. He has maybe the most impressive looking strikes in all of wrestling. He lays it in, and it just hits you through the TV. You feel it. You feel the impact. He is so good at getting the most bang for his buck when it comes to his offense. He knows how to lay his strikes in. He knows how to really squeeze the most juice out of everything he provides on offense. I love what I see from Kyle Fletcher on offense. I'm sure everyone else does too. That's not a unique take. I'm not special for that. But Kyle Fletcher he's special. He is a special specimen. And I think everyone sees him as such. For this match in particular, though, it took St. Louis a minute to fully kind of pick up what they were putting down, fully invest themselves into this match. But once they did, they really never looked back. They really got going and picked up a lot of speed. I went 4 1/4 on this match. I thought this was terrific. I really did. And I thought Fletcher's desperation late in the match really put over Briscoe's adeptness against Fletcher and how well Mark Briscoe knows Kyle Fletcher. I thought that point was conveyed really well. So just really nice on so many levels from these two. I'd love to see more. Matches like these are exactly why Kyle Fletcher got the TNT title, and it's exactly why he's going to get the world title. Up next, we have Chris Statlander versus Toni Storm. This was a different match. I don't think there was any other match that quite struck the notes that this match did. This was terrific. I loved what these two did. It was very grounded and contentious, but at the same time, it made sure not to overstep and do too much. And that was something I really appreciated. It never jumped the shark. It was always grounded in the competitive aspects of their dynamic, and I loved that part of it. Statlander came out and played the role of the rock-solid world champion, came out looking like she'd held the title for over 200 days. She played that role perfectly, and Toni Storm took up the role of being the kind of frustrated challenger with a different type of demeanor that we haven't seen from her. I thought she seamlessly took to that. I thought these two clicked really, really well. I loved this match. I loved the roles they took on, and I loved the grounded, contentious approach to a lot of the mat sequences and a lot of the agenting that they brought towards this. This was great. And I can't wait to see where these two go from here. A terrific match. I went 4 stars on this, 4 stars sharp. Now post match, Mercedes Moné comes down, and Mercedes is obviously coming down for her open challenge, who we do not know who that is going to be. At the time of watching, we didn't know who it was going to be. It was a mysterious open challenge. She comes down. We get a little moment in the ring between Chris Statlander and Mercedes Moné. Chris Statlander exits the ring, and that is that. And Mercedes calls out anyone to come down and challenge her. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, Athena was rumored earlier in the night. Could be Athena. I'd love to see Athena. They had an incredible match earlier this year. I'd love for it to be Athena. Wasn't Athena. Another name that was tossed around online was Syuri from Stardom, a Japanese women's wrestler. She's incredible. I'm a big fan of Syuri. I actually watched her at New Japan's King of Pro Wrestling event this past weekend. She impressed me. She had a really good match with Sari. So I loved what I saw from her. And so I was like, Mercedes versus Syuri. Like, let's hit it, man. Let's go. And who comes out to challenge Mercedes Moné? It's none other than Mina Shirakawa. And, all respect to Mina Shirakawa. This was disappointing to me. I was definitely disappointed that it wasn't a Syuri. It wasn't an Athena. I definitely would have liked to see one of those women come down. And because of that, this match, in my opinion, took a hit. At least my interest for Mina versus Mercedes did. So again, with respect to Mina Shirakawa, because she's a fun wrestler, she's very fun, and the match that they had was fine. I'm not going to go too in depth as to what I saw, because honestly, I was kind of checked out. But the match was fine, largely. It was pretty good, actually. There is no reason for Mercedes to be having these trivial little pay-per-view matches, flavor of the month style matches against women like Mina Shirakawa for, of all championships, the Ring of Honor interim women's TV title. Why? Why is she wrestling for that title? Who cares if Mercedes wins the interim TV ROH women's title? I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm generally a defender of Mercedes. I love Mercedes. I think she is the best women's wrestler in the world, hands down, bar none. And I am also a defender of her belt collector gimmick. I think when she's making money for these promotions and when she's drawing numbers for these promotions that she's winning their belts from, I think it is a very helpful thing. I think it's a very lucrative opportunity for some of these indie promotions and other companies to get in on. This is not that. This is just a waste of a pay-per-view spot. There is no reason for Mercedes to be wasting her time with the interim Ring of Honor World Champion. Not even world, it's just an interim TV title. There's no reason for her to be wasting her time on this. This is a waste of a pay-per-view spot. And so harking back to my original point at the start of this video, which was AEW is lacking in significant story threads that really keep you thinking on it and pondering and ruminating week to week. This is an example of that. Why is Mercedes not in a really meaty program with a top woman? And we're going to get to that in a second because that happens in the post-match. We're going to get to that. But why have we not done this yet? Why did it take us this long to get to a really interesting program for Mercedes? Why have we been spinning our wheels with flavor of the month challengers for her for months now? It makes no sense to me. And I was really disappointed with this match. Not this match. The match, like I said, was very good, but I was very disappointed that it was Mina Shirakawa. I'm not gonna lie, and I was very disappointed that they want us to believe that Mercedes is gonna lose to Mina Shirakawa, because at no point did I ever believe that Mercedes was losing to Mina Shirakawa. It's a waste of a pay-per-view spot. I had no interest in it, and I hope we never go back to pay-per-view matches like this. This was the lowest point of the entire show. Absolutely. All right, next match. It is Okada and Takeshita versus Brodito for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. This match was incredible. This match was very, very good. But here's what I'll say about it. This was the point in the show where I really started to feel fatigued. I really started to feel the effects that this 4.5-hour show was taking on me. This is a 9-match card, and every match is at least 15 minutes, roughly. This match went way too long. This match went 27 minutes. It did not need to go 27 minutes. Just shave 5 minutes off from it, and it's a little bit more palatable. It was incredible, though. I am not going to go down on this match. I will not hate on this match too much. I was very fatigued watching this match, but it was incredible. These four worked their tails off in there, and they should be very, very proud of what they did. The crowd loved this. There was some really creative wrestling, some really creative spots that they did, and it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't. This was, for many people's money, the best match of the night. The best match of the night, and that's an absolutely fair assessment. But for me, it wasn't, purely because I was feeling very, very tired. But coincidentally, after this, I sprung right back to life. So, yeah, what do you know? But no, this was great. During the match, Okada accidentally, I want to say he drop kicked Takeshita, and it took him a minute to realize what he'd done. But once he'd realized that he had drop kicked Konosuke Takeshita, he took full advantage of it, and he just started smiling and really embracing that opportunity. It felt inadvertent, and it felt like something that Okada didn't have an issue that he did. It wouldn't shock me if we are on the collision course to Okada versus Takeshita. I think all of us can kind of forecast that. We can kind of telegraph that, because those two, in that kind of match, I mean, that's money. That's absolute money, man. So, great match. Bandito pins Okada to set up a unified title match this Wednesday on Dynamite. Very, very excited for that. That should be very, very good. No, great match. You should watch it if you haven't. Backstage, we see Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm both mourning the loss that they have taken tonight, both mourning that they lost their matches, both saying like we've lost it all, and they hug, and that's the end of the segment. What's suggested here, what's implied, is that they will go after the AEW Women's Tag Team Championships. That's absolutely what I think is going to happen. I think these two are going to become the first champions potentially. And I think that would be a welcome detour for Toni Storm and for Mina Shirakawa. I'd like to see both women involve themselves in something like that. That would not be out of the realms of possibility at all. I would love to see that. All right, we're up to the semi-main event here. Hangman Adam Page versus Samoa Joe. This was my favorite match of the night. This was awesome. This was tremendous. Oh, man. I mean, where do I even start? I went 4.5 on this match. I thought this was great. So lots of great psychological layers kind of added on top of an already great gritty tone that they were conveying. I thought they killed it. I really did. I think Joe is one of the best, most reliable workers AEW has, and Hangman Page is simply one of the best wrestlers in the world. These two killed it, and they really offered such a simple and streamlined tone that every other match I feel like kind of they don't do too much, but they're not nearly this simple. They're not nearly this streamlined. In fact, the only match that I think even comes close to being this simple and streamlined is Chris versus Tony, but it doesn't even touch Hangman and Joe in my opinion. These two killed it. They rocked the place. And it was just such a great, simple escalation of two prideful men competing for the top title in the company. They should be very, very proud of what they did. Again, my favorite match of the night. Hangman Adam Page beats Samoa Joe, and after the match, Samoa Joe attacks Hangman Adam Page and kind of holds up his title, and it makes it clear that we're not finished here. I'm coming after you. I'm absolutely down for it. I'm down for the 2.5 months of television that they're going to get from these two. I've loved what they've done here in this angle. I loved the match that they put on. So sign me up for another version of Samoa Joe and Hangman Adam Page. Sign me up for another edition of that. All right, backstage, Mercedes Moné calls out Chris Statlander. After earlier in the show, Chris Statlander came back down to the ring to give Mercedes a piece of her mind and a slam for her troubles. She then kind of held up her title and made it clear, you're not going to tell me to get out of the ring. You're not going to kick me out of my ring. And so that kind of got the ball rolling on this angle between them. And again, later in the show, Mercedes, talking to a camera backstage, challenges Chris Statlander to a match at Full Gear for the AEW Women's Championship. Now, my initial instinct told me, okay, there's no way Mercedes Moné is going to lose twice in a row, 2 world title matches in the space of about 5 months. That just seems very unrealistic. It doesn't seem like something Tony Khan would book, but it dawned on me. Chris Statlander and Mercedes Moné faced 1 year ago at Full Gear, and Mercedes Moné beat Chris Statlander. And now if Tony Khan is smart, Chris Statlander is going to go over here. She's going to get her heat back, and it'll be a very full circle moment where Chris Statlander will have finally overcome Mercedes Moné, and you will kind of kickstart that story of Mercedes' downfall, of her really doubting herself and her questioning her ability to win the world title. Can she even beat the world champion? Can she obtain that world title? Those are the questions that we kind of want to see answered. Those are the compelling questions that will drive a lot of story for them and a lot of story for Mercedes that we've been missing. And harking back to my original my original point at the start of the video, we need story threads like that to pop up throughout the weeks. We need story threads like that for marquee wrestlers like Mercedes Moné who need this stuff. They need this stuff to stay compelling and stay truly relevant. Not that Mercedes is irrelevant. She's absolutely not. But narratively to stay relevant. Mercedes needs to stay narratively relevant. She needs to stay relevant within the context of the story and of the narrative. This will do exactly that. Chris Statlander should beat her, although I am a little bit worried that Mercedes will go over. I guess you just got to keep the faith that Chris will win and that we will tell some interesting stories with Mercedes. All right, it's main event o'clock here at WrestleDream. It is Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley. And if you watch this match, you'll know that there's almost too much to say here. I mean, if I went through every car crash, grotesque spot that the Death Riders put on Darby Allin, I'd be sitting here all night and this video probably wouldn't get published. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go spot by spot and react and give you my thoughts on it. I'm just going to say this was the most beautifully perfect car crash that you could not take your eyes off of. I had an absolute blast with this. I thought it was absurdly car crashy. I thought it was absurdly hilarious. Some of the spots they were doing, some of the ridiculous, just hardcore deathmatch wrestling type spots they were doing, I had a ton of fun with. I had a ton of fun with the Sting run-in. I thought this was a great match. What did I go on this? Let me see. I went 4.25 stars on this. I thought it was terrific. The pinnacle of this sport. And if you watched it, you might agree with me. I thought this was terrific. If you say this isn't wrestling, I guess you just don't understand what the pinnacle of this sport is, man. This is what wrestling was made for. This is what wrestling was made for. This was fun. I had a lot of fun with this. If you didn't enjoy it, that's okay. It's just not everyone's cup of tea. That's fine. But I had a blast watching this. I had a blast watching this main event. I really loved it. All right, so that's going to do it for this WrestleDream review. I want to just put a little bow on this show and say that these shows are way too long, man. They gotta make these shows shorter, because right now the 4.5-hour marathons that we have to sit through, where I'm fatigued by the 7th match, 8th match, like I can't do it, man. It's way too long. Okay, Tony Khan sometimes books pay-per-view cards upwards of 10 or 11 matches. Sometimes he's in like 12 match pay-per-view cards. Sometimes that's way too long. And Triple H books cards on the opposite side of the spectrum. He books cards at 5 matches. Can we not find a middle ground here? Is there not a 7 to 8 match pay-per-view card that none of you can put together? Are we serious right now? I don't need 12 matches. I don't need 5. Give me 7 or 8, okay? No, it's too long. I feel fatigued about midway through the show, and it's a marathon. It's an absolute marathon. Cognitively and mentally, just dissecting and analyzing this stuff, you're just drained. Your energy is drained from you. And so I need them to bring this length of the show down just a little bit. This show is very good. Not AEW's best pay-per-view of the year. I think Double or Nothing was very, very good. I thought Revolution was good as well. And it wasn't their best card of the year either. They've put forth some better pay-per-view cards in 2025. But very good show. If you didn't watch it, it might be worth your $40. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but this was worth my $40. I enjoyed this show very much so. I had a lot of fun with it. Although again, it's too long, man. It's way too long. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this review. Please do leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. I want to hear them. What do you think of this? Agree or disagree? I want to hear your thoughts on this show. How do you feel? How do you feel about the results? How do you feel about the story threads going forward? All the angles that were set up coming out of WrestleDream. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to get a conversation started. Please do like and subscribe on your way out. That would help my channel immensely. It would make my day. It would help my channel get seen by more people, and it would help this video get seen by more people. So please go do that. I would just really greatly appreciate it. Ooh, excuse me. So until next time, guys, see ya.